Thank you for joining us today. My name is Elle, and I'm joined, as always,
Reed.
and Danny. Awesome. This is Voice Podcast, which is designed for you and gives you an inside look on all things being a student at St. Lawrence College entails. If you hear something that you like, or you have a topic idea, guest suggestion, or anything else that relates to this podcast, please let us know by calling our extension 1677. Like us, leave a comment, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and SoundCloud. So today we have a very, very special guest. We're going to be talking with Mayor Bryan Paterson. So he is the 96th mayor of Kingston.
I thought you were going to say 96 years old.
No, 96th mayor. He's not. He's youngin'.
Yeah.
You know, this is his 5th year, so he got reelected. And super exciting. We're going to talk to him about the city and what he has going on, the Mayor's Innovation Challenge, which all students should definitely check out. Yeah, so
A lot of fun things for students at St. Lawrence to try to get involved in the community and learn everything about Kingston. So
Definitely
Yeah.
check it out. Take a listen or a watch.
yeah, either.
Or both.
Yes. Stay tuned.
So welcome, Mayor. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. It's great to be here at St. Lawrence College.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
definitely nice to have you here for sure.
Thank you.
And you are the mayor of Kingston.
I am. I'm just
96th,
just
right?
finishing my 5th year on the job, actually.
50.
So-
How long are the terms for mayor?
Well, they're 4-year terms.
Okay.
So, and you can go as long as you want to go, and people want to keep re-electing you. So I think it was
nice.
the mayor of Mississauga, I think, was the mayor for like 35 years or something
Wow.
like that. So I'm nowhere near where some mayors are at, but 5 years it's amazing. It goes by fast because it's a super busy job, but definitely the most interesting thing that I've ever had a chance to do, for sure.
So I'm wondering what kind of sparked that interest originally for you? Like, what made you want to become the mayor of Kingston?
No, it's a great question. So I actually am not from Kingston. I actually came to do a master's program in economics at Queen's, and then I ended up staying and doing my PhD program, and then I was hired as a professor at Royal Military College. So I'm actually still there.
Nice.
I still teach there, and I really enjoy it. So I really like being around the college university atmosphere.
What do you teach there?
So I teach economics.
Oh,
so I
okay.
teach a
Great.
variety. I teach a first year class all the way up to like a 4th year advanced course. So it's fun. It's interesting, but I think that I was interested, to kind of get out of the bubble of, academics and college, university, and say, what can I do to contribute in the community? And so I ended up running for city council and really enjoyed that. Did that for 4 years. You learn about everything about how the city works. You learn about the sewer pipes and the roads and the snowplows and the garbage collection, all that stuff about how a city actually works. And then there was an opportunity where the previous mayor was moving on to federal politics. And so, it's one of those key moments in your life. You're like, okay, well, why don't I just go for it? And it worked out. So it's been
Nice.
It's been an adventure
Awesome.
for sure.
Good for you.
And what do you prefer to be called? Is doctor, mayor, Mr. Doctor?
My
Mr.
preference.
Mayor Man.
That's a new one. I like that one. So I'll be honest with you. Probably my preference is Brian.
Yeah.
But there are a number of people around City Hall that call me Mayor P. So
Mayor P.
Mayor P. Mayor
I like
Paterson,
that.
Mayor P for short. So
Okay.
So we usually ask, obviously a lot of our guests are from St. Lawrence, and we talk a lot about the school community. And one of the things we ask is what do you find as a hidden gem in the school? As mayor, what do you find as a hidden gem in the city of Kingston that not a lot of people might know about, or something that you find just so special about this city?
the hidden gem. Well, that's a tough one because there's so many gems. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to think about a gem that not many people know about. So, you know what? I'm going to say that I think one of the hidden gems would be some spots where you can get amazing views of the waterfront. And so one of those hidden gems is actually at RMC where I teach. And most people don't know that you can actually do this walk because you think it's kind of on campus and maybe you're not allowed to do it. But if you ever walk across the causeway and there's the memorial arch, and if you walk down there, you will see the most incredible views of Kingston that you can ever see. And you can walk all the way down the point and you go right out into the water. And it's amazing. It's an incredible place just to sit and just be able to,
That sounds beautiful.
just to be able to take in the vistas. So
because I like going up to the Fort Henry
Yeah.
and just looking at Kingston itself, and like from
Yeah.
the little restaurant that they have right there at Fort Henry, and it's just it's a beautiful view.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely...
It's gorgeous.
That is a good
Kingston has a very beautiful skyline. If you're ever taking the ferry to Wolf Island, it's just, it's gorgeous.
And it's amazing how not many cities in the province have what we have. And
Yeah.
It's amazing that, you know, you don't even realize sometimes how special it is. But whenever I go to conferences and I'm speaking with other mayors from other cities, every one of them are just like, man, Kingston's such a nice city. Like, it's so beautiful and so historic, and you have like so many great things going on there. So
Yeah, not many cities have a waterfront view like we do. Right?
Yeah.
So.
that's what I mean. They might have like a river going through the middle of the town, right? Which is fine, but it's nothing,
nothing like the lake,
nothing
right?
like
Yeah.
what we have.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Do you have a crazy funny story from being mayor? Is there something? Is there a story that you
That
have?
you're allowed to tell us?
You've been mayor for 5 years. Is there something hilarious that sort of sticks out in your mind that a story that you just love to tell from your time being mayor?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, there is a lot of crazy stuff that happens, and so probably some stuff that I couldn't share on this show. But you know what? I'll say that probably like some of the funniest moments come from having school groups into City Hall. So we'll often get groups that will come in and you know, and so they're excited to, you know, sit down with the mayor. So I always enjoy that. It's always fun. So you sit down and talk with school groups, and but it's fun to get some of the questions that you'll get like from some of the kids. So I remember the first time I met with a school group, and the first kid asked me, he said, so do you live in City Hall? Do you have servants? You know, in City Hall. And I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. I never thought of that.
We do now.
Starting today.
Starting today. But just the questions like, are you rich? You know, did you drive to work in a limousine? Like, it's funny how like, you know, just to get those kind of questions.
Right.
So those are, you know, you just always get those funny questions from kids. But yeah, there's never a day that goes by where I don't learn something new about Kingston. Right? Like you meet somebody new, or you learn something new about the community, because there's always so much going on here.
Right.
So, and that's really what I enjoy the most.
Nice.
Awesome.
So you don't have like a Secret Service or something?
I don't.
Darn.
I don't.
You don't have the limo pulling you up to City Hall?
With the Kingston flag.
Well, it's funny actually, because I was actually on a business trip to China actually a couple years ago, because we've got the new Chinese infant formula plant located here. And so we went over to China to have some meetings with the company. And I remember one night we were at our hotel, and I just decided to go for a walk and just kind of explore and see what's around. And nobody there could believe that I was going for a walk, because over there, the mayors are basically shuttled in like these black, black limousines. Like they have these caravans, and they basically take the mayor everywhere. And the mayor never steps outside and actually interacts with regular people.
Wow.
So it's really interesting, right? Like a totally different culture and environment here. I'm like, yeah, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah, you're always at events like that, and that's one of the things I think you're so great about. Is you're everywhere.
You're very present with the community.
Well, thank you. It's the best part of the job.
Yeah.
It's the best part of the job. I often say that the part of the job that I enjoy probably the least is probably like, you know, city council meetings that go for like hours into the night. You know, it's not always always
take a Red Bull to keep it going.
Kind of, yeah, for sure. But I mean, honestly, going to events and just meeting people, like that's definitely the best part of the job.
Awesome.
For sure. So you drive to work every day.
I do.
And what's your favorite strategy, I guess, to miss all the potholes?
So my route is usually Bath Road to Sir John A, and then down to Johnson, and then down Johnson all the way down to City Hall. So sometimes there are a few bumps along the road, if you've ever experienced that. So, but we know that, you know, basically this is what's happened for the last number of years. We've really invested in some of our parks and our waterfront.
Right. And they're very beautiful.
Which is great, right? I mean, that's really important for our quality of life, our community centers. You know, think about like the Leon Center downtown. So all that stuff is great, but you also need to sometimes go back to basics and say, okay, we also need to make sure that the roads are in good condition. So we're actually going to be investing a lot in our roads in the next few years, just trying to make sure that we take care of it. But also I think just some of the weather patterns are really hard on our roads right now.
For sure.
So you fix them, and then what happens is like the next few months you get freeze thaw, and it does. And you talk to like our guys at Public Works, they say that is the worst possible thing right, for
Yeah.
our roads, right? So anyway, so we'll just have to.
It's hard because Kingston, it seemed this year it started early.
It started really
For
early.
sure.
Did it ever.
Yeah.
I was at a few Remembrance Day ceremonies, and
is
it was
cold.
like blowing snow, and I'm like, man, this should not be the case.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So on that topic of different investments and that sort of thing, I know that housing is really, really important for the Liberal Party and Kingston community especially. Sure. So I'm wondering if there's any information you can give us about what direction that's going and where we can see it going, because as students, obviously a lot of people come to Kingston as students to live here, and so housing can be a major issue.
Absolutely, it's a huge issue right now. It's
Definitely
probably the number one priority on my desk right now, and so I think to your point, we have a target to build at least 3,000 new housing units over the next 3 years. And then to be able to create a pipeline where we're continuing to add, so we can increase the supply of housing, so people that are moving to the community can find a place to live. We hear this all the time now. People that want to come, they may be looking for a job or they want to attend school, and it's really hard. It's hard to find housing right now. So we need more of it. We know that what's happening right now, we're seeing a lot of people moving from like the Toronto area to Kingston, great, because it's a beautiful city. You know, there's lots of opportunity here now, and so we really need to make sure that we're building housing at a much faster rate. So there's a lot of projects going on right now. I've actually convened a task force on housing, so it's a bunch of community members from different sectors, and so they're working right now on a number of recommendations to kind of help us steer that forward. But the idea is to build all types of housing, all parts of the city. So more housing out here around St. Lawrence College, more housing downtown, more housing out in the West End. And I think if we can do that, that'll make it easier for people to find housing. And the other thing is try to keep it affordable, because if you don't have enough housing, what happens is people start bidding up the prices, right? And we've seen some big increases in prices and rental rates as well.
And you don't want to be lower than the price rate, because you could come across as cheaper than what the houses are actually when they're actually quality homes.
Absolutely.
Except they need to be competing with all the other markets. Right?
Absolutely. So we're working really hard to try to ensure that we get as much housing built as quickly as possible. So that's the goal.
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I hope that includes a lot of affordable housing too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times it's like the people are getting pushed out of like the downtown area and things like that. Coming into a lot of homelessness and things like that. Like in Kingston, like I'll walk down Princess Street, and it's difficult not to see someone asking for money or things like that. It's the dead of winter. Well, not quite winter, but I mean,
we're getting there. We're
close.
close.
No, it's cold.
We're close.
It's definitely cold,
cold.
though, for sure.
Yep.
So are there any initiatives, or are there any plans or anything like that to help alleviate some of that undue burden on the people, the less people that are, homeless or...
Absolutely. I mean, ideally what we want is to make sure that housing's available to everybody, right? No matter what your circumstances are, no matter what other challenges you might be going through. And so one of the things that we're looking at is more supportive housing. So it's not just a place to live, but also the supports you may need. Like if people are dealing with, addictions or with mental health challenges or other physical issues, you want to give them a place to live first, because that's always the foundation, right? And then how do you provide those extra supports so that they can overcome, if there are challenges that they need to work through, that they can do that. So we're actually working. I actually had a conversation with a couple of agencies this week about a couple of projects that we're looking at and introducing. And also part of that is just some city funding, so that we can actually invest, and makes the rents for some of those housing units cheaper, right? So that people, if they don't have as much money, that they can still afford a place to live. So that's always the goal. What we're trying to steer away from is people living permanently in shelters, right? Like a shelter is a great thing to have in an emergency, and so we're always going to need those. What we're trying to move away from is people that are basically like living in shelters for months or years at a time, because that's just not a great environment to really kind of build your life or overcome whatever issues you're dealing with. So to be able to give everybody a nice permanent place to live, that's ultimately the goal.
Exactly.
Great. That's an awesome goal to have.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so speaking on to the mental health programming, there can be some sort of people tend to find that there tend to be not necessarily a lack of resources. There's many organizations that deal with mental health, but there tends to be wait lists on many programs and certain lack of funding. And I know that can kind of go beyond your politics. I mean, that can go on a provincial level. But is there anything locally that the city can do, or even just as citizens that we can do to help beef up those programs, and even our local hospitals?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that we're talking about a lot these days. And so there's two things going on. Number one is a lot of those programs are funded provincially.
Yeah.
And so we are talking to the province, talking about the importance of, if you want to make a strong health system, you can't ignore mental health. It's a huge, huge area of need. And so we're having those conversations. The other piece is, okay, well, given the current funding that we have, how do we use it as creatively as possible? How do we make it as accessible as possible? How do we make those dollars go further, right? And so there's all kinds of interesting creative partnerships. Sometimes it's getting sponsorships with businesses and others that understand this is important, and they're investing into programs as well. Sometimes it's also not just the existing programs, but letting people know where to go when they need help, right? And so that's a key issue. Some people, when they're struggling with something, they don't know where to go or where to turn. And so the recent coming together of a number of groups to create One Roof, which is kind of like the youth services hub. So, you don't know where to go. Okay, well, go to One Roof, and then you talk to them, and they'll be able to say, okay, here's where you can go if this is what you need, or if that's what you need, and we'll give you a reference. And it just makes it a lot easier. It's less intimidating than have to, if you've got a problem, like where do you go? Who do you call? Right? Exactly. And so that's the other big piece we're trying to work on, is trying to make this coordinated approach so everyone knows what to do.
Almost like a one-stop
hub. A one-stop, exactly. Right? And it might be mental health, or it might be a housing problem, or you might have a conflict at home, or there's so many different issues that young people in particular are facing. So being able to take everybody and say, you just step in this door, there's going to be somebody on the other side of that door that cares about you and can help you with whatever it is you need. That's really the message we want to send.
Right. I think that's really great. We talk about mental health a lot on this podcast. I think it's come up on many episodes, and I think the one thing that we can take from that is, like you said, there's all these different services, but they're so spread out, and there's so many different people you have to contact. Yeah. So to have that one place you can just go would be super, super beneficial to everyone in Kingston, not just youth, but going upwards into different ages and demographics as well.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, the other thing I'll say is that I'm certainly never going to say that, sitting in my office in City Hall, that I've got all the answers. So if you guys are talking about it and you have suggestions, or you hear things like here at the college, please let me know, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
hotline?
there's a red phone on my desk. I'll give you guys the number.
It's the bat line.
We'll send out a signal.
Absolutely. We'll look for it.
Great. Yeah.
On a bit of a lighter note, Kingston is a bit of a cultural hub when it comes to its arts. In its music scene specifically. Yeah. And there's a lot of initiatives being created to sort of beef up that music scene, and making sure that that tourists know that this is sort of the Nashville of Canada. Yeah. You have all sorts of local talent. You can see live music every single night. I'm wondering if the city has any initiatives in plan to making sure that that's happening in terms of economic growth in the music scene, or even just
like arts,
entertainment, arts and culture.
Kingston's
in general.
big on that.
We have the film festival.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of things that are big name things that are here in our small town, small city. Yeah. Right. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we talk about wanting to create more opportunities just in general, and helping entrepreneurs that have ideas. And so, but that may not be like you've got like a new idea for a smartphone app. It might be that you're a really talented artist. And so you are a small business person to some degree, right? Where you're basically providing an entertainment service. And we know that there's a great scene that's happening here. So what we've done is we've provided like a big pool of funding. Because some people, when you're first starting off as an artist, it can be a little tough go, like initially, and so you just need that support, right? So we try to provide some of that and work through some of other community groups like the Arts Council and others, but we want to make sure that we can support young talented people. We've got a great legacy of music and arts and culture in the city, and so we really want to inspire a new generation of people that can kind of follow in those steps. And so it's a priority for us. We've talked about it as council. Wonderful. And so we're talking about creating an arts and culture hub, which could look like different things, right? And I'm not even sure
what exactly
thing
about art, right?
It could be anything. You guys tell us. I know we'll tell the artists. What is this going to look like, right? But basically, this idea that we want to connect people. right? So make sure that our arts and culture scene is connected, and that we can recognize great talent. In a couple of weeks, we've got the Mayor's Arts Awards, and so that's always it's an exciting thing for me because I get to recognize some of the great work, whether it's in music or visual arts or those other variations on arts. And so just to try to raise profile of some of the incredibly talented people we have here.
When is that happening?
So that's going to be December the 2nd, I think.
Second?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's open to the public?
Yeah, you guys should come.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It'll be fun.
Sure.
So it'll be a memorial hall in City Hall.
Okay.
And we do a great job. We decorate the place, and it's packed out, and it's a good time. And there's like a video profile of each of the winning candidates, and so it's a really great way to celebrate some of the amazing work.
Yeah, that
here.
sounds amazing. And Reed has a couple of bands. So you can
So I
keep him
hear.
in mind. Any music needs. Reed has got you
I've got your
covered.
contact.
Yeah, I
info,
know
Brian.
the red phone. The red phone's going to be ringing.
I got the bat line now. So talking about connections in the city, St. Lawrence is a bit of it can tend to be a bit of a hub on its own outside of the city, just in terms of the geographic location that we're in. It's a little bit far from the downtown, and certain students from out of town who are not from Kingston tend to not exactly know exactly everything that's going on in Kingston and not exactly get involved in the community. And there's all sorts of initiatives that St. Lawrence and the Kingston community do that's so great. But is there anything, I guess, that students can do and that the city can do and that everyone can do to make sure that students from out of town in St. Lawrence feel a little bit more implemented in the city?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a key vision for us. We're trying to make Kingston a more international city, a more global city, and so really wanting to make sure that everybody feels welcome, no matter what your background, where you're from, what your interests are, and really to engage our students in like the civic life of what goes on in the city. So we're always looking at ways to better engage the community. So like in the past, we would do like events at City Hall, and we would just kind of expect people to just show up, or be able to read the newspaper, or or look on the city's website and find like when a public meeting is. But we know that doesn't work now. So we're trying to use whether it's more social media or just sometimes just putting advertisements just out on the side of the road. You might see if you're on the bus. But again, I would say like if you guys have ideas about ways that we can kind of help better connect with the student body here at St. Lawrence College and let you guys know what's going on. We're trying to make it easy.
Right.
My feeling is it's my responsibility to kind of let you guys know what's going on, not your responsibility to figure out
what's going on.
Right? There's a big difference between those two things.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we really want to hear the youth voice, especially on some of the things we've already talked about, like housing and mental health services. Sometimes what we do is we tend to hear a lot from other demographics. We tend to hear from people that might have more time, or they've been in Kingston for longer, and so they know what my email is. They know how to get a hold of me. They know they'll go to council meetings. But we really want to hear from you guys as well. And you guys are busy. You guys are busy doing assignments and like all the other stuff, and doing podcasts here at St. Lawrence, right? So what we can do to make it as convenient as possible for you guys to know what's going on, but also provide input to us about, okay, what is it that's missing in Kingston, right? If we wanted to make Kingston even more attractive, more youth friendly, what is it that we can do? What's the big gap? And so rather than me trying to figure that out, I like to ask you guys whatever you think.
Well, I mean, that's definitely good to know, because I think as a younger generation, we have lots of opinions flying around the college campus, and most of them are useful and productive. I think that with the advertising and everything, I think switching to social media, and I have seen billboards in the bus, I think that is a lot better of approach.
Oh, we're definitely in the step in the right direction.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's getting better and better every year, I find.
Good.
But it's good to
Good,
know
well,
for
thank you.
students that they can reach out to you as well if they have questions or they want more information about something.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to meet with students if they have an idea or an issue or anything else they want to bring to my attention, for sure.
So on that note of touching base with students, do you want to talk about the innovation challenge that you're hosting here at St. Lawrence College?
Absolutely. So we are launching the 3rd annual Mayor's Innovation Challenge. Now, this is a project I'm very passionate about, because I think it's great not only for the city, but really great for students as well. So what we're doing is we're putting out some challenges. These are things that the city of Kingston is grappling with, and we're looking for creative, innovative solutions. And so we're turning to the post-secondary students. So we're turning to students at St. Lawrence College and saying, help us. Give us a creative idea about how we can address one of these challenges. So one of the challenges is climate, right? So what can we do locally to make a big impact in reducing greenhouse gas emissions? Food security and sustainability. We know that's a really important. What can we do to encourage more, whether it's local food, food security, to help enrich the community? Accessibility. What can we do as a city to make our community more accessible to people that might have physical disabilities or other challenges? And so these are things where not only are we looking for a creative solution, but we want to give students an opportunity to be able to showcase just how awesome they are. And so the finalists, so we want people to submit their ideas. There's been a couple of workshops already, but you definitely can get in touch with us and get more information. Form a team, come up with an idea. Then we're going to review the ideas, and then the finalists are going to pitch to myself and a team of experts at City Hall in February. And the winning team, we're going to hire for the summer. We want to hire the winning team to implement their idea and be able to work on some other amazing projects that we're working on as a city as well. So this is a chance for you. If someone out there has a great idea here at St. Lawrence College, we want to know about that idea. It's the time. And the thing is, if this idea will fly in Kingston, it will probably fly in many other cities across the province and the country. So this could be a platform for somebody to launch and be like the next, Bill Gates or the next Steve Jobs, right?
Like
I mean, who knows what it'd be? Whatever that might be. So yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So if students haven't already been to one of the workshops, can they still
Absolutely.
participate? They can still jump in kind of anytime-ish?
Well, so definitely you probably would want
Sooner the better.
to jump in pretty soon, because it's probably going to take some time to understand the challenge and maybe form a team and get to work on it. But yeah, no, we've got a whole team at the city that's happy to answer any other questions. You can check it out. There's a site, so you can just Google Mayor's Innovation Challenge in Kingston, you'll find it. But basically, it's at all the challenges and all the information you might need, or you can get it from the City of Kingston website as well. And then so the deadline's coming up early in 2020. So we just want people to start brainstorming those ideas now.
Right.
And we're looking for some great teams from St. Lawrence College. So I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
I'm sure there'll be some awesome teams.
Definitely. There's a lot of talent here, so I'm sure
I know
something good will come out.
I have no doubt. I'm looking
Bill
forward
Gates,
to it.
the next Bill Gates is there.
For sure.
I think I take a class with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we've sent out the Innovation Hub, which is where we are now, have sent out emails, and the Student Association has sent out emails.
Awesome.
So there's lots of contact for students if they want to become more involved and when it's
Absolutely.
happening, what's happening.
Well, thank you. Thanks for helping us to spread the word.
Yeah, no
Definitely,
problem.
It's great. I mean, we were talking earlier about how do we get students more engaged in the community. So we feel like this is a way to do that.
It's a huge event for
And
that.
Exactly.
So we're excited to see what comes.
Yay.
So
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is a wonderful episode.
Yeah, it was really great.
My pleasure.
Very informative.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to probably mostly students, but it could be anyone around the world, really?
well, you know what? I'll just speak to the students, because I'm sure that anybody could be listening, but I know that I just want every student at St. Lawrence College to know that they are as much a Kingstonian as anybody else. And so you guys, we really value, we really are excited by your presence in the community. And so we're excited to build bridges. And so please never hesitate to reach out or come by, stop by, say hello, tell us about what's going on here at the college. And we'll together, I think we can build a city that is just awesome, that basically everybody else can look to and be like, that's what we want our city to be like.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Brian.
my
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure having you.
All right, thank
Feel
you.
free to come back anytime.
Thank you. I will. This is a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was amazing. I feel like I learned a lot.
He is the coolest mayor
Yes.
ever.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool, in fact, that he has a red phone that we can just
that
call
we can
him
call.
anytime.
We can send out a signal.
Like
We
a
can
bat
knock
signal.
on his door. We can pull up in a limo and he'll know.
Yeah.
Flags.
He's our best friend.
Yeah. So awesome. Definitely all the students, I would suggest checking out the Mayor's Innovation Challenge.
That's actually really cool. He said that's the third annual that he's doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So that's very, to me, I thought that was one of the coolest things that that he was talking about, you know, as far as coming for future projects, you know, because it's there are a lot of issues, or some issues anyway. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
that we
I
can
think
get the students involved in the future growth of Kingston.
Absolutely.
it's a really good opportunity. With that being said, too, it sounded like he really encourages young people to get involved in other areas. So when it comes to the housing crisis, climate change, the roads, basically anything that has to do
Every
with the Kingston
political
community,
issue, yeah.
music, entertainment, any ideas or suggestions or input that you might want to give. Sounds like he is super open. The mayor's office is always open to young minds and opinions. So that's a really great and really good thing to keep in mind. Yeah, so on that note, we'll talk about next episode. So it'll be Winter Blues, I believe. So we'll be having a student come on and talk to us about how they kind of handle the winter since it's hitting us pretty quickly.
It came out of nowhere.
Came out of left field, in your face.
Just
cold.
overnight, like that.
I walked outside one November morning, and there was snow all over the ground. It
Yep.
was like, this is still November. What's
I didn't even
going
have a
on?
winter jacket yet. Like it was ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
Reed, you gotta have
But
a winter
anyway,
jacket.
we'll get to that
Okay,
next week.
next
All right,
week.
you know. Okay.
That's a conversation for next week. Okay, so let us know what you think about this podcast and if there's anything you want to see moving forward. So our handle on Instagram is at SA Voice Podcast. My Instagram handle is Elizadora. What's yours, Reed?
Sneaky Pig 1.
And Danny?
No middle name, 1-3.
Perfect. So you can keep up with the podcast by tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and SoundCloud. And don't forget to call and leave us a message at extension 1677. Make sure to check out what is going on around the college. All the events are posted around the college on all the Bristol boards. You can follow the SA on Instagram at SA_SLC. We always post different kind of events and things going on there. And yeah, that's all I got.
Perfect. See you next week.
So thanks
See you
so much
soon.
for watching.